Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is September 12th, and here we're looking at a combination of Doppler radars across the region. You can see there is some precipitation moving across the North Oregon Cascades into the southern Washington Cascades, soon to move north a bit here. Not a lot of precipitation associated with this, so it's not a big widespread precipitation event that we're looking for to kind of tamp down the fire danger around the area. You can see this line here across the Cascades marks where the SPC thinks the thunderstorms are going to be today. This would include much of central and eastern British Columbia as well. But again, if you guys are seeing something out there with rainfall amounts, check in on Twitter there and hashtag Washington weather if you would, WAWX. I'm just wondering how much of this is actually reaching the ground here across the region. It doesn't look like any thunderstorms currently right now. So we'll go ahead and check out the infrared satellite imagery here, and you can kind of see that activity here moving across the region, old tropical moisture, as we've got this really weak upper level low moving across the region. The thunderstorm threat will exist for the higher terrain, mainly Cascades East, for the next day or two, possibly into Wednesday. You can see this big low pressure system across the Bering Sea here, moving towards the Gulf of Alaska here. And we're going to watch the extended forecast to see. It looks like some troughing is going to develop around the Pacific Northwest. We just don't know how much precipitation we're going to get out of that system, if any. There's still some models that say, and some ensemble runs that say we might not get much at all. But there's some pretty good disagreement here between the GFS and the European that we'll look at here in a moment. Here's Pendleton, Oregon, talking about the smoky conditions out there. You know, if you're in eastern Washington, BC, Oregon, here you don't need me to tell you about that smoke out there and where it's coming from. Those forest fires across the Cascades are causing that. You can see air quality alerts do exist for much of the area as well. Spokane talking about the Monday and Tuesday thunderstorms. This could probably be extended on in through Wednesday as well. Confidence moderate, possible new fire starts as well. Now, so yesterday we got 72 at SeaTac. That's pretty much cooler than I thought we were going to get. I thought we would get probably upper 70s. And you can see the 92-degree day, of course, on the day Saturday. But yeah, it kind of chopped down those highs that we were expecting more towards an 80-degree day. And a few days ago, it looked like we might get into the 80s. So you can see what those upper level clouds and some of that smoke did to our high temperatures there. Now, taking a look around the rest of the region here, you can see western Washington and Oregon, generally moderate air quality concerns right now. Air quality index around moderate. And you can see the eastern Washington, Oregon areas are much worse. We're starting to get some westerly flow here, keeping most of that surface smoke out of western Washington and Oregon, southwest BC for the time being. You can kind of really see just there's some unhealthy air over here in eastern Washington and Oregon. Now, checking this out, this was my house. You could see the worst of it was on that Saturday and Saturday evening. We're still dealing with some of that smoke here around the surface, but not as bad as it was for sure during the day Saturday. Yesterday had a little bit of a bump there, but we're eventually working our way back down, and we should be a lot better by this evening here coming up. And taking a look here at the HER 3KM 12Z here. If I put this into motion, you can see that surface smoke move out of western Washington and Oregon, kind of say confined to the Cascades, and look at eastern Washington, eastern Oregon, some really nasty air quality out there. So don't shoot the messenger. It's hard to clear it out over there versus western Washington and Oregon here. Just passing along this data here. Looks like it's going to continue to be nasty over there for a bit before we start to clear things out. Maybe by Wednesday for some areas, at least lessen the effects of that smoke. I mean, pretty intense smoke over there right now. Here's that upper level low, 500 millibars. Again, we looked at this yesterday. You can see that upper level low kind of spinning there. Very weak system, mainly a threat for some showers in the higher terrain, possibly a thunderstorm or two for the higher terrain as well. Now, checking this out, this is the European lightning flash density potential here. So we go on through this afternoon. You can see some of that maybe through the Cascades, eastern British Columbia, southern Oregon down there. And as we go through Tuesday afternoon, we'll kind of repeat that a bit here across North Washington, maybe the Cascades, a higher terrain of eastern Oregon, eastern BC as well. And maybe on again in through Wednesday, as you can see, kind of that activity picking up again. But that kind of moves off to the east here by that point, not really including the Cascades much Wednesday afternoon. And again, there's not much precipitation associated with this system out here. So we put through the European here. This is 3-hour precipitation totals, and you can see some spotty accumulations here. And then as we go on into Tuesday afternoon, again, maybe a little bit of a repeat, but not much precipitation, not big fire quenching precipitation that we're looking for at this point. Now let's look at the extended a little bit here. Here's the European ensemble control run. This is not as high a resolution as the deterministic run here. So if we just let this go, there goes that upper level low kind of hanging around the area. Weak trough moves through BC. And then you can see the trough kind of open up near the Pacific Northwest. This is not a very moist trajectory to have a trough come across the region, though. Might bring some precipitation, mainly for the higher terrain. But again, not a very juicy system. If we had this trough dig out a bit more, we could get more of a southwest flow and bring more precipitable water in the region here. But as of now, it does not look like that wet of a system. Now let's go ahead and go a little bit into the future here. Again, you're going to see kind of a ridge build, almost a transient ridge for another trough swings through BC, then maybe some troughing off into the future here. But we're getting too far out into fantasy land there. But this is the trough we're dealing with here now. And you know, there is some differences still here between the GFS and the European. I'll show you this here in a moment. This is the Canadian. Actually, this is the European control ensemble. Actually, let's look at the ensemble mean here now and go ahead and go over the average of all the ensemble members here on the European. There goes that troughing kind of setting up there. It looks like it might try to bypass some of the Pacific Northwest here, but you know, this is kind of a tricky situation here. So we'll look at the GFS here in a moment. I want to show some of the differences though showing up. As you can see, this trough mainly missing us out to the east here a bit, would be more of a light precipitation maker. And now here we're looking at the Canadian ensemble. Actually, let's go ahead and do the Canadian ensemble mean. I think the 12Z is out now, and it is. Let's go ahead and see what it says. Upper level low, weak trough, swings through British Columbia. Decent model agreement there. Then we kind of get that trough opening up. A little bit more favorable of a position here, according to the Canadian. Still probably not a huge precipitation maker. Wouldn't bring a big end to our fire concerns around the region, but could bring some precipitation. As you can see, this troughing kind of hang out to our east here with some ridging nosing in here through the extended. And then maybe some Gulf of Alaska troughing developing on into the future. Still too far out at this point. Here's the GFS, the deterministic run, the highest resolution version of the GFS. This is the best conditions we know of as now. And you can see that upper level low move through the area. Kind of that weak trough hanging out. But then you can see the GFS, look at this, opens up the trough off the coastline here more. This would, you know, this could bring some more precipitation across the region here, but it could bypass Pacific Northwest also at the same time. You can see this trough really dig out over California. GFS kind of been pointing at the solution here for the last couple of days. Now let's look at the GFS ensemble mean. This is the average of all the ensemble runs in the GFS. As we go through, there's that upper level low, and you can see the troughing start to dig out here near the Pacific Northwest. And, you know, this is right on the borderline here, bringing some beneficial precipitation to the Pacific Northwest. And this is still far out. We're looking at later this week on into this weekend. So we still have a few days to watch this. As you can see, we got some pretty good model disagreement coming up for the weekend here. Portland International, you can see much more seasonable temperatures as we go on in through the week coming up here. No heat waves in sight. Should be some very nice weather actually coming up here, especially because we probably won't be dealing with the smoke on the west side here. Here's Rogue Valley, Medford Airport here. Bit of a warm day today, then the eventual cool down as we go through mid and later this week. Astoria in the 60s, nice little onshore flow going on there. Spokane, you can see the cool down start through midweek here as well as the trough starts to approach in the extended. SeaTac, looks like some nice days coming up here. Looks like temperatures right around the 70-degree mark. I don't know if we're going to get to that 77 degrees here today, but should be clearing out the air at least by this afternoon and evening across the region here west of the Cascades. Now here's looking at the European run here. If you check this out, the control run calling for just under 1/4 of an inch. Not that much precipitation. I mean, we'll take all we can get. Beggars can't be choosers here at this time of year, as it can be difficult still to get precipitation and some of these systems in here. But you can see they've kind of backed off on the totals on some of these ensemble runs. Some of them only having 1/10 of an inch. Still some dry members in there, a couple with a bit more precipitation. But again, confidence is low at this point. Here's Quileute. You can kind of see that bump going on down here, and some precipitation values going on as that system moves down through the area here. Now look at the GFS 06Z that came out. Pretty darn dry, actually. Quite a few members with no precipitation, a few with a couple tenths in there. So this is kind of bypassing the Seattle area at least. Let's go ahead and let's do Portland here. Not much better there. Here's Rogue Valley, Medford. Not much better. You can still see quite a few ensemble members in there with dry results. Now we're going to do a little La Nina look here. This is the new CFS. You can kind of see here, if we look at October, we're right on moderate La Nina conditions as we speak. We're about minus 1.0 as we speak. So we might drop down a bit more as we get towards November and December. So we should be in pretty good La Nina conditions through December. But you can see the crawl out as we go through January. Still in La Nina through January, but you can see we're starting to come out pretty rapidly here. February, we might start to move out of La Nina conditions, excuse me. March, you can see we're into neutral conditions, and then kind of a quick rise as we go on into the spring months here, as we go into positive neutral conditions here. Now, I wanted to show you this. So I've got this whole graph for SeaTac. This is 1980 to present. If we take a look here, let's look at October. This is for wind. 14 months fell within La Nina conditions from 1980 to current. 14 months there. The average peak wind was 40. You can see for El Nino conditions, 36. Neutral, about 37. So you can see that signal there for stronger wind during October during La Nina years and lesser during El Nino, and a little bit higher for the neutral years. They're coming up. Now let's take a look at fog. You can see October. Actually, you know what? Let's back up again here quickly. If we go through November, you can see 16 months here on La Nina conditions since 1980. Look at this signal, 44.4, significantly higher peak wind versus El Nino conditions, and neutral somewhere in the middle around 43. If we look at December, though, check this out. La Nina 46 is the average during these 17 months from 1980 to present. If we look at El Nino, 15 months of El Nino conditions from 1980 to present, 47. This is the windiest month. A December El Nino tends to be the windiest month of any month at all during the entire year. And you can see neutral conditions much less, much down around 44 miles per hour for that high peak gust. And if you look towards January, you can see 43.4. Just about the same for neutral, but a little bit windier, a little bit of a signal there for El Nino conditions. But as you go into the spring, check this out. February, March, you can see a huge signal, 44 versus 38 versus 40, how La Nina tends to be stormier as we go on into the spring months here, at least for Seattle. I plan on doing this data for Bellingham, Quileute, Portland, Medford, Spokane, Pendleton here eventually. It's just such a huge undertaking. The Excel spreadsheet for this and the manual data entry takes so much time that I'm actually hire somebody and just pay somebody to do this. So if you want to do some data entry and I can show you how to do it, then you can just kind of go on it on your own. Hit me up, send me a message here and I can get you set up for that if you want. So La Nina conditions, fog, you can kind of see October. Actually, neutral or El Nino years are the foggiest month there for October. Check that out. Almost 6 months of dense fog a year. The second highest month looks like a neutral for January here. Or actually, the highest is the December of a neutral year here. So kind of an interesting features there. But let's look at some more interesting things. Thunderstorms. You can see for November, La Nina, actually one of the highest rates over neutral and El Nino years for thunderstorms. If we go into rainfall, check out this signal for November. La Nina years, 7.27, much bigger signal than El Nino or neutral years here. So we have a pretty good chance for having a pretty rainy November coming up here. Now, if you look towards December, though, it starts to switch towards El Nino, neutral a little bit less than La Nina here. In January, El Nino tends to be a little bit wetter than La Nina January. It's quite interesting there. And you can see a much lesser of a signal there for El Nino or for neutral January conditions there. Now let's look at temperature. You can see that during October, it's a little bit chillier during a La Nina year, but as you get into towards November, it's pretty equal between El Nino and La Nina. And that's probably because during all that precipitation we're getting, we're in more of a southwesterly flow. So we're probably a little bit warmer because of that reason here versus El Nino years. But look at neutral years during November. We are pretty darn cold. And I'll show you another signal that shows up in neutral year Novembers here just in a moment. Checking out December though, but look at this signal here. We drop down to 40 degrees for the average here temperature during La Nina. And look at this much, that's a very pronounced signal. That's over 2 degrees colder on average during a La Nina year. Neutral, just a little bit warmer than La Nina. Now here's the one everybody wants to see here, snowfall. Actually, back up there it is. Snowfall, you can see during the 14 months of October, we've never recorded 13. We've never recorded snowfall. The last snowfall we recorded, I believe, was 1971, if I'm not mistaken, October. And I believe that was during, I can't even remember, so I'm not going to speak on that right now. But you can see October, generally no snowfall. If you look towards November, 16 years, 2 snowfall days, averaging just 0.2 of an inch. Average actually got a little bit more snowfall during El Nino during November. And look at this neutral signal here. 2.3 average per month during November. Check that out. 27.3 inches of snowfall has fallen during those 12 months we were in neutral conditions since 1980. Very impressive signal there. But now as we drop down to December, check this out. 2.9 inches. That's a strong signal there. 3 inches average during those 17 months during La Nina years. 49 inches of snow fell. And you can see El Nino, 15 months, only 3.1 inches in those 15 months for a very sparse 0.2 tenths of an inch average there. You can see a little bit better, 1.4, but a very strong signal here for La Nina December's here in Seattle. So we are going to be in that. So cross your fingers, snow lovers. We may be in for a little bit more snowfall than usual here for December. You can see this exists for January and February. Look at that signal for February, 2.6 inches. And even including that February 2019 El Nino where we got really good snowfall amounts, we're still on the average about 1.6 during February, a little bit more during neutral years, and a strong signal for La Nina February conditions, which we could still possibly be in coming up here. So kind of interesting numbers here. You can see just the 8.6 during the 12 months for the entire year. 3.7, over double the snowfall amount during La Nina conditions versus El Nino conditions for Seattle. And neutral really not far behind, spawned by this strong November snowfall signal. I mean, that is pretty intense. We do occasionally get good snowfalls here in December in the Puget Sound and even down towards Portland, Western Washington, Southwest BC during November. And you can see they tend to happen, at least during the last 40 years here, during neutral conditions. So kind of interesting numbers I thought I'd show you. I also have them from 1950 to present here. So let's go ahead and look at that. Where's the snowfall here? So if we look down closer, you can see during November, still a pretty good signal here for the neutral years for the entire 70 plus years here at SeaTac, and not a very strong signal there during November years here for November. But again, if you look towards December, 3.5 inches of snowfall versus 1.9 in neutral years versus 1.2 in neutral years and 1.9 in El Nino years. So again, still a very strong signal there for snowfall. If you look back from 1952, the king of months is January La Nina. As you can see, almost 5 inches of snow a month SeaTac is average during that period. Even El Nino can get some decent snowfalls, as you can see, averaging close to 4. And you can see neutral 2.1 here, actually quite a bit less. So kind of interesting. Just thought I'd point that out to you guys here. And if we look at wind, let's see, what's the windiest month? 46.1. Looks like an El Nino December tends to be the windiest month of the year since 1950 for SeaTac. So just kind of interesting looking at the raw data here, as you can see. And as we look over to temperatures here, you can see that signal for a cool December and January, especially versus El Nino, a little bit warmer there. The big signal comes in like areas like February. Look at this, almost 3 degrees difference, 2.5 degrees difference there. And if you look at March, 44.3 versus 47. So pretty strong signals show up there. Let's look at rainfall here really quick too. It's piquing my curiosity. If we look at November La Nina, you can see the signal exists all the way back to 1950, 7.2 versus 5.4 versus 5.6 there. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that little show there. And yeah, so dealing with this upper level low, some thunderstorms the next few days. Looks like I've got a lot of new subscribers the last few days, some new members. Welcome. I hope you guys don't mind me posting your names there and letting it scroll through. I'm very proud of my members here that help support the page. You guys make this all possible, makes me all the more determined to send out good information. I can't wait till the fall gets active here in the winter. We're going to really ramp up these forecasts. During big events, I'll probably do 2 of these videos a day. Actually, I did that a couple times last year. So big windstorms that may be approaching, big rainfall, flooding events, big snowfall potential. I'll probably do 2 a day, some of those during some of those periods. So I can't wait till that gets rolling here and we can start getting some more active weather into the region. So anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying these videos, and we'll do this again tomorrow.